Good insert time of day to you folks who are watching something about Elemental War of Magic. This is Beta 4, and it's the map editor tool. And I've been working on my world, as it were. Sorry for the rolling of the chair. Just wanted to get right up in the face of everyone and start looking at what I've built so far. If you remember the map, I initially just did the outline of the land, and then I started actually working on building it. Now, if you remember my first map, the Artana, which I did upload to the server, it just hasn't been approved yet. I don't know if it ever will be because it's being beta and all. But if you remember that first one, that world consisted of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It had a top of 8 and a width, so a height of 8 and a width of 12. So that would have fit all the way up to here. So from here on over, that would have been the world, like roughly right from there to there. Now, with the size 14 one that I put together, it's 14 by 14, and as you saw what I built earlier, is I have the three, major continents. If we look up here, here's another one. And let's see, you also probably are noticing trees, swamps, desert, and hills on the overview map, which makes sense because I've spent some time working on putting that together. And then you have the other continent all the way over here. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it vaguely reminds me of Westeros from a certain George R.R. Martin's series, but it was unintentional. Okay. So, anyways, what I've done is I found that after crashing a couple times because of pressing the button a couple times too many trying to fix something when it comes to rivers. I don't know if rivers actually have any properties or if there's anything associated with the game and rivers mechanically, besides just placement. But what I did, and I was doing it in stages, is after putting in the land, you'll notice that there's Arctic down here. That's purely environment. But hey, look, here's a river. And the river, I was able to continue to make it build and grow and grow and grow. And then it cuts off. For some reason, when you can view it, you can view it out from here, and you can't necessarily see the start point. But that's irrelevant. It's just something that's there. I don't know if that's going to be fixed in beta or when it goes live, or if it even needs to be fixed. One thing that, in my opinion, does need to be fixed is rivers being able to merge or be able to insert basically intersections, which I've seen them in the property tools as something I can place, but they don't necessarily fit right with these, and they don't flow correctly when I try to place them, and that's fine. The only thing is, I'd like to have a central one with, say, a central welling point, and then have them go north. And otherwise, I had to build these. Have a start point, which is what it looks like here. This is a start point, and then your river travels and travels to wherever you have it coming off. And I liked it coming off over to here, just because that's why I put them all coming off of cliffs. Now, when you're looking at the entire picture, zooming out, I used a certain philosophy for placement of terrain. Started with the mountains, and then the hills, and then after that, my next step was to place rivers. Why? Well, because in our world, rivers are everywhere. And actually, if I had the ability, I would actually have branches coming off, running off this way, branches running this way, and so on and so forth. I mean, just hundreds of little branches coming off and then flowing off into the oceans, like tributaries and other rivers we actually see in the real world. Or even other rivers just joining together to go somewhere else. Now, when you look, you can also see that this dark stuff is swamp. And I figured, okay, you're going to see wetlands next to rivers frequently. And then after going through that whole process of setting up swamps, and after placing the rivers, then I set up swamps. and in deserts, trying for a realistic feel. Just even though it says swamps, for all I'm concerned, it could be jungle, it could be tropical forests. It doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of having a location. Now this one, I have no water coming to. I just figured it was like a very rainy area. It's ironic because it's also down here near the Arctic that I placed, but that's irrelevant. It could be cold rain. And so just placing trees, the forest as it were, by the river. Sometimes I decided that, hey, this would look really cool, if I did put this here or put that there. And just kind of went with it and started growing a city. Actually, I decided that was desert, so I was doing a little bit earlier, I was actually doing environment and then adjusting the water nearby to give that, it's going to have to increase the size, but basically change the water from barren water to water that, you'd find off the coast of somewhere. Doesn't really matter. I just liked having different color water. And then just adjusting it as you're seeing it. And it doesn't really have to be just like this. There's no hard, fast rules for what your water is going to be or what it's not. It's just purely up to you. Preference. Ultimately it comes down to preference. So in my case, my preference is to set the water to appear that color. And then we're done that. I just hit the minus key to reduce the size of the environment. And now having locations like deserts and forests, I used a logic process. Trees, often are on the lee side of the, they appear on both sides of a mountain, but usually it's more denser on the side where the weather comes through. Or the alternative is if there's a river valley, trees you can almost follow the growth, even in deserts. I mean, take a look at Iraq's, I think it's the Tigris. I'm almost pretty sure it's the Tigris river that runs through Baghdad. Great, now I'm just going off of memory and I'm starting to sound like somebody from the Jersey Shore. Not intentional, but anyways. Now here, going back, so basically you see valleys, trees, forests. To me, it says it's the forest tool. I could care less. It's the tree tool. It allows me to put down woodlands, and that's what I've done. So if you're looking through, you're like, okay, well, this looks right here, this looks like a pretty decent map. And that's even before I place anything else down, like resources and stuff like that. And then next here, you can still see that I went with like a river valley, but also it's in the hills, but I wanted to keep the hills as actual hills, a very hilly region. And then you got your swamp, and I could have surrounded it with more trees. So, because I realized looking at it, actually I'd like to do that. Put a couple more here. Zoom out, look at that. Hey, boom, boom. I can increase the size to make it fit, whatever it is I'm trying to achieve. And there's that. So you got your river valley and the trees next to the swamplands. You can almost imagine the sounds of mosquitoes and other giant creatures, black dragons flying around. Yeah, the whole 9 yards. And so on and so forth. And then I decided for the map, for my Arctic, I'd take the top square and the bottom square. And then make whatever lands there and water there touch and just become Arctic. But I haven't decided the penalties associated with that yet, or if I actually am going to apply any. Maybe not. One other thing, water. Water here is... this is actually what I was figuring was like I chose the grasslands environment, and it created a rather bright white coastal sea land, and I thought that was kind of neat. It was blending in because then, for me it was kind of like the north there was the light, and down here you had your little desert island, which I'm actually thinking of putting down a minor faction or something interesting, or some goodies, just something cool out there, a dragon, I don't know. And then down here, I decided I was going to emulate the Gulf of Mexico, the Blood Bay, and not let BP put any dispersants in here, so that way it doesn't go away and we can actually see the effects on the environment. So you kind of have nice, oh god, the water, it's all blood red, and so on and so forth. So it depends on the lighting and what angle you're catching it at, which determines how dark it is. But I just thought it would be kind of cool to actually, have areas distinct with light and dark, but not necessarily drop any land in a specific place and say, oh, only the good guys who are the kingdoms are here, and only the bad guys who are the empires are down here. Forget that. I don't care. That's irrelevant to me. My thing first was start off with a world that was cool. And I've done that. I've built what I'm calling this planet the Faege. Faege. And because I've made some changes, I'm going to save it real quick. Overwrite that previous version. And then there you go. So now my next step, which I'll show you in the next video, is the starting placement of the civilizations that the players will be able to get their hands on. This is where, if you were to play this map, you'd be able to end up in one of 8 locations for the starting random location, from the starting location that I'm going to place down. And I figure probably 2 per single continent, because I have up to 8 that I can place down for random locations for right now. And then I place 2 here, 2 down there, and then something similar, like 1 here, 1 there, 1 here, and then, 1 way down here. So that would be 4 on the big continent. So, the people over there, they're going to have lots of fun. And then I would place a lot of minor civilizations. Oh, and believe me, that to me, that's like, I would like, 30 or 40 of them. People that you can interact with, different types, factions of, good guys, bad guys, orcs and dwarves and things that they're just not strong enough to actually, be a full major society, but they can eventually become vassal states or something like that, or, provide resources or spells or, any number of things that, they can come up with at Stardock. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to stop the video here and start another one, building the starting locations, and go from there. Show you what I'm thinking. Catch you in the next video.